And I need to start out the usual way we go is we start with a few happy notes. And since I have the floor, first of all, we'll ask everybody to mute themselves. And if you want to speak, just please raise your hand and then unmute and kick on in. So I just have to announce that yesterday, my wife became a great grandmother. And so therefore I became great with her, I think. However, it's a step family to me, but very much we have a 9-pound, 5-ounce addition to our family. So that was a little larger than what anybody realized, including mom. So she knew the last day or two that this fellow was going to be big, and he came through. Everybody's doing very well. So we're very happy with for the family. Any other happy notes out there? Peter, please.
This is about as usual, about the Guatemala project. Had a 1-hour conversation with Luzani Contreras, who's the Rotary person in Payten, who's running the project from their end. That was on Monday, and then Tuesday we had an 1.5-hour meeting with Luzani and Sereninia. Sereninia is the organization that's run by a woman who now lives in Medicine Hat, but was in Guatemala for 6 years. And she's put together a girl empowerment program, teaching modules, because in Guatemala, the status of women is pretty awful. The number of girls who are pregnant by the age of 17 or so is pretty high. And so these girl empowerment modules are, they're teaching sex ed, they're teaching gender equality, etc. It's been done in cooperation with the Guatemala Ministry of Education. And so the idea that we're discussing is putting the girl empowerment modules into Rachel and then teaching people in the Payten area how to deliver those modules. And this will be part of the project that we're putting together. So it's extending the project. It also means that we started the work on this project back last July. With Rotary, if you start a project online and you run out of, and 12 months elapse, Rotary kicks your project off, it disappears. So actually today, I redid the project basically to restart it from scratch, just cut and paste into a new project number so that we won't get kicked off in 6 months. And we're going to be working hard with Serenini to add a lot of additional content so that it becomes a Rachel Plus project. And then we want to have it all ready by the 1st of April when the Southern Alberta clubs meet to determine their district funding, because that's going to be crucial funding for the project. And so we hope to have everything ready to submit to Rotary by end of April or beginning of May. Now, Danielle Scogan, who has this teacher that I just mentioned, from Guatemala, now living in Alberta, she will be speaking to our club in 2 weeks. And so I really recommend that we let people who are interested in gender equality, etc., know about that talk, because she is a Canadian and she speaks Spanish fluently, and she's really interesting. So that's all I'm going to say.
Quick question with regard to that, Peter. Is everything still good with the people from Tacoma reworking how we're going to do that grant? Everything's okay there?
Yeah, that club, because of their rules, they're going to end up being the lead club, which really doesn't affect things too much. I'm still going to be the person with the pen.
You're doing all the work, I know that.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird. I like doing that work. But one of the advantages of restarting the grant is that we can set them up as the lead club. And then I'm meeting with them on Friday to go over exactly who's doing what in that.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Hi. I have approached Troy Rotary. I think there's a donation already in this project for the Rachel.
Yes,
but I've approached them and with Peter and I have been going back and forth to put world-class hygiene and hand washing lessons on every Rachel we can find. you know, so the cost or the control has to go to the people who own those. That's the cost, the trainers who we're used to. But Vision for Clean Water and Troy Rotary is working on that. It's slow right now. Everyone's away and it's online, Peter, but we're working on it.
That's great. 'Cause the cool thing about Rachel, I mean, I think most of you are familiar with it. Chandra, probably not, but it's a digital Wi-Fi, huge memory that you place in schools that don't have internet. I don't even, like in super remote indigenous places. And it creates a Wi-Fi hotspot with a terabyte of information. So it's easily expandable. One of the things they want to do in Pay 10 is they're running a project like John Lawrence's project of watershed management to try and stop the pollution of the Pay 10 Tikal Lake there. And because it's, you know, we're familiar with the problems of Lake Erie, they have similar problems. And so they're putting a lot of teaching modules, environmental teaching modules that they want to put together and then get onto Rachel for local use. So it's not just the teaching games and the videos and the books that are going to be on it. It's going to get, as Eileen mentioned, the water information from COST, the watershed information from Let's Local, and the girl empowerment stuff. So we take, and it doesn't cost us anything really to put extra stuff on it. So we can take a project and make it much more valuable just by thinking of what we can do with it.
And Brett, I might add that what I'm hearing here is that there's several areas, Rotary areas of focus that are coming together under this platform.
Yeah, I suspect in terms of optics, it probably, hopefully it'll look good. I was just talking to somebody a week ago who's doing a Rachel project in southern Guatemala, and he's been backing and forthing with the Rotary people for 6 months trying to get it approved. We got ours approved in Barrias in 1 month. And so I'm hoping that by adding these extra, well, it's more than bells and whistles. I don't mean to make it sound frivolous. This really valuable stuff that we're adding to it, I hope it'll therefore be approved by Rotary very rapidly.
Yeah.
I also want to say, because I'm here in this club, that this is exceptional work. Thank you, Peter. It's the first of its kind that I know of, and it's crossing all kinds of platforms. So we're going after the Eastman's project in Guatemala, but we're working in Cambodia and we're working in other places, and we can now tell them about the Rachel and plug it into all kinds of water projects. So it's just a phenomenal platform started from your club. Very good.
Actually, thank you, Eileen. I've had a meeting with Patty Lee's Rotary Club because they're thinking of putting the Rachels into Cambodia. And I was talking to Jay Eastman a few days ago. He wants to come to the meeting in 2 weeks because he's very interested in what Daniel Scrogan has to say about adding the Serenina training modules to the project and to use them in their school in Nuevo Eden in Guatemala. Sorry, I don't mean to be taking up the meeting.
Sorry, excuse me 1 sec. I gotta. Hang on.
Brett's a popular guy today.
I'm just in the middle of a Zoom meeting.
Well, anybody else with a happy note?
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm very happy to see everybody. It's been, I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen everybody together again. So that's nice for me. And it's nice to see some new faces or familiar faces, but folks I haven't seen in a lot longer. So welcome everybody. And glad we're all here. And Rick, I see your face. Holy cow.
Shaven face. Looks good, Rick.
Starting off clean shaven in 2021. That's a momentous occasion right there.
Oops. Hang on, is he trying to say something?
Rick, you were on mute if you wanted to say anything.
I'm trying to unmute you, but you might have to unmute it, Rick. Usually down in the lower corner.
Yeah, I'm clicking on it. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Our daughter has got a new job. She's got an English degree, journalism certificates, published poet, but she's been bits and bits as far as that type of thing goes. But she was a paid contributor to a magazine called the Washington Report, and she is now, you can see this, she is now actually a member of the staff there. She has a regular monthly column in the Washington Report in there. So loading along. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to end our happy thoughts there. Whoops, Tom Story, you got one? I'll squeeze you in if you unmute.
Yeah, I'm just happy to report. I'll move it over here a bit. I added a couple more books to my cooking book collection here behind me.
Well, I hope
I
your
really
last
like to
page
know
is on.
that. Yeah, thanks. Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, anytime.
We usually have a check-in on what he's up to there. So I'm just going to move along quickly. Our birthdays, I don't have either of our birthday gentlemen with us. Terry Smith and Brad. Whoops, that wasn't Brad, it was somebody else. January 25, who was that? Oh, I think Brad Langford was January 25 for a birthday.
That is correct.
Okay, and our club anniversaries. The ever-renowned Barry Fraser, who takes so much abuse, 42 years. Caitlin Caldwell's 5 years. Charles Seaman and Doug Solomon, both 38 years, joined the same time. I thought Charles might be with us today, but I don't see him. Carl Veroba, 33 years. Tanya Sharp, 10 years. And Moira Kerr, 22 years. So congratulations to all those members, and that's great. Moving along on our club news, with the report from the government yesterday, I am expecting that Rotary Bingo will be put off for another couple of weeks. I believe we may be opening up around February 11. Just to advise, we were slightly chastised by somebody from Cogeco for not letting them know that we had suspended our programming for Rotary Bingo, but the main people who we work with, they knew it was somebody up the chain. So we've explained our situation to him that we did not consider bingo was an essential service, and therefore we had closed ourselves down. My main concern was our bingo delivery crew that would have to go out to each of the vendors each week, and I didn't feel that was going to be appropriate. So we suspended for the time being. My next item I wanted to get to is we are taking names for anybody to join our 100th year committee, as next year we become 100 years old. So anybody that's so inclined, if they can let me know, and I'll get you added to our list, and then we'll start getting some meetings in place shortly so that we can move forward with planning for being 100 years of service to Rotary. So from that point, I would like to ask Peter Tanner if he would do me the honor of introducing our guest speaker for the afternoon.
Yeah, it's actually my great pleasure to introduce Gary. Gary has been working on water projects, and he started out the same way I did. He went to one of Eileen's workshops many years ago, a few years before me. Those workshops really get you interested in doing, like when you're, like Barry's been to the workshops as well. And you get to meet all these people who are doing really interesting stuff in really interesting countries. So you really want to do something. And so Gary took it and ran with it. Yes, he's been an administrator of mental health program in Ann Arbor. He's worked as an insurance sales. But recently he's been focusing on the water issues. He set up a project in Ecuador. He arranged for Cost from Calgary to come down and teach people about biosand filters in Ecuador. And then when he did a return visit, he let me and several other people know, you want to come to Ecuador and see what's been going on. And probably because I'm a little crazier than most, I said, sure, why not? And tacked on a 1-week Spanish course in Quito at the end of it. And we visited. I got to see how a global grant works through visiting. They worked at in the clubs that Gary had a relationship with in Ecuador. It was very impressive to see what he had done. And now he is our WASRAG ambassador. He's also been working with the various projects, particularly the Ghana project that our district is involved in. And with that, I'll turn it over to Gary.
Whoops, unmute, please, Gary.
Gary,
hello, everybody, and congratulations on being 100 years. That's quite an accomplishment. That kind of caught me off guard.
Yes.
Good. Well, I think Peter gave me a brief overall who I am. I think that I started my journey, like Peter had suggested with Eileen. It's been over 10 years ago. And I attended Eileen's biosand water filtration class. And after 4 days of training and so forth, I come a kind of way that I just knew the tip of the iceberg about water and sanitation. However, with the help of Mark Forrest, I ventured on by setting up a Future Vision grant for a water biosand water filter project in Ecuador. And what was a little different about it is I set up a vocational training team that included people from COS and other people that were outside of Rotary at the time. One of my members of that team was Erica Gwen, and I think many people know Erica from her work. She's currently working at Rotary International as a water sanitation coordinator. And actually, I talk to Erica quite frequently, and she's been really helpful in continuing my education in terms of getting involved in water itself. I am a member of WASRAG. I'm a WASRAG ambassador, and I need to do a little bit of introduction about what WASH is about. The primary thing is that we help people with planning, execution of water projects, and including in planning in that we have expertise and people who've been in the field, maybe been in the field in an area where you're considering to have a water project, and also technology. We have a variety of people that are experts in different types of technology. And again, people that may have some experience working in an area that you may be considering to have a water project. Not only do they help with technology and planning, but we also help write with water, global grant writing. And it's a lot different now than it was when I first did my Future Vision grant, primarily in the sense that we didn't stress sustainability as much as we do now. And because of that, it's a little more intricate in terms of writing the grant, and we help people as much as we can in terms of being able to get through those loopholes, to be able to get the grant in front of somebody up at Rotary International, and also help them get it through the process as well. WASRAG ambassadors are chosen by the operations team of WASRAG, and we basically help with the development of human and technology, and helping in water sanitation. In other words, we make an effort to try to access information not only from within Rotary, but outside of Rotary itself. I spent a lot of time talking with the people from COS, the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology out of Alberta, but I have over time come in contact with other communities and other organizations and charitable organizations, and basically picking their brain in terms of finding out what kind of technologies that they use and how they adapted that technology to the situation they were in. what we're really interested in doing is helping your project be able to be involved and be sustainable. And that what it means is that once you remove yourself from the project will basically continue to move along and grow. And I can tell you from my experience in Ecuador that that is most definitely the case. Because I have right now to this day, of the 600 and some odd filters that we put in place, we have people that still use about half of that amount of filters. What we had happen is that when we put the filters in several communities, we created water demand. And by creating that water demand, the municipal, local municipalities developed their own water system and basically started putting piping water to a variety of communities in Ecuador that had been serviced by biosand filters. The other thing is I encourage people to consider joining WASRAG. We get together both virtually and in person when we have the opportunity. We have newsletters that go out at least on a monthly basis. And also we have emails that are submitted among the ambassadors and all the people who belong to WASRAG, talking about things that are going on in their area that they're currently working on. I don't know what everybody's experience in Rotary is, but I believe that water and sanitation and hygiene is the greatest challenge. And we have, and not only in countries that are underdeveloped, but even in countries that are developed, like here in the United States. I mean, one of the things that's encouraged a lot to help stop the spread of the coronavirus is washing hands. But not everybody knows how to wash their hands properly, except my grandchildren. So, you know, washing the hands is something that's very important, and it's really a struggle when it comes to start changing behaviors in underdeveloped countries. Probably the thing that basically touched me the most in my world of water is when I started interviewing mothers of Quechuan families. It became, I guess, startling to me that a lot of them talked about the death of their children as though it's a normal occurrence in their lives. And that really struck me. Here in the United States, you know, losing a child is a really traumatic experience, but you don't see it that often because of our standard of living. In underdeveloped countries, it's very common and it's accepted to some, you know, by families that to expect a child to pass away before the age of 5. I took this picture once when I first arrived in Ecuador to do an assessment. And what you don't see in assessment, this girl is 9 years old, by the way, and she's washing clothes in a hole. And what they do in Ecuador is they basically dig these square holes and let water seep into it. And that's used for drinking and washing. What you don't see in the photograph is her 3 little sisters. And her 3 little sisters are there watching her do this and helping her with the laundry. And looking at this little girl, I was looking at this little girl right behind the schoolhouse. And she was supposed to be in school, but she wasn't. She was doing the family laundry and she was watching the kids as well. So water and sanitation in a lot of underdeveloped countries is a woman's issue. And we found even discussing in our focus groups in Ecuador that is really who really understood the issues regarding water, hygiene, and sanitation. They were the first to speak up. They were the first people to get involved in finding remedies for it and became the most interested in the project. What I've been working on recently is I've been working as a monitor for District 6380 for the Rotary International USAID collaboration. And that that project's right now undertaken in Ghana. And this is basically an experimental effort by Rotary International to join partners with other organizations in the field to see if there's a way we can combine resources and expertise to be able to make a larger impact. I think people know several years ago, it was bigger, what was bigger, or try to make things bigger. District 6380 was the international sponsor of this project with Rotary International. And it was totally a $4 million project. And Rotary committed a total of $2 million, and I believe our district was close to 200,000. This project was headed by the late Janet McPeak. She actually asked me to get involved in it. In fact, she asked me to get involved in it when I think the last time Chatham had a district conference. She asked me to be the monitor for the district, just to listen in on calls to see what happens and to see if there's anything that we as a district we can do to help facilitate the project, and also to bring the expertise from WASRAG to the group itself. I'm on that steering committee along with Ron Denham. Probably many of you know Ron from Toronto. We meet on a monthly basis every third Monday with the Rotarians in Ghana to help them through the process of being able to implement this project. And we've been meeting, it was only supposed to be about 3 years, but it's been extended because of issues that they've had within country implementing the project. And also the COVID hitting Ghana basically has reduced the, they were on lockdown and they couldn't get out in the country to be able to facilitate the project itself. A lot has to go into kind of melding two different philosophies or two different groups in terms of being able to get to work together. For an example, we had ways that we were doing things and they had ways of doing things. And so there had to be some give and take between the groups to be able to implement the project itself and to share ideas, and also to be able to share funding as well. But the primary goal is to be able to make this a sustainable project. So once this project is over, it'll basically continue to go on its own. Project is basically directed to 75,000 people. This is actually phase 2 of the project that started between Rotary International and USAID. Phase 1, it basically a lot was learned from that phase, and the phase 2 part of it, we learned what we could from that, and we basically tried to apply it. And we wanted to be able to affect as much of the population as possible. After the end of this phase, what the project has done is improved the access to water and hygiene for 69% of the population of Ghana. Now, how it works is that the Rotary Club, Rotary International, is responsible for what we call the hardware. And the hardware is, we actually hired a project manager that basically oversees the entire project. And he was responsible, along with a group of Rotarians, to review bids on people who were going to construct the trains, the boreholes, any piping that needed to be done in that. And they actually had roughly about 12 different subcontractors who actually did the work. And this, again, what Rotarians did in the country is spend time advocating for clean water and sanitation. They spent time doing outreach within the community itself. They spent time talking with the community about what the project was going to be about, what it entailed. And in later stages, they basically helped the software part of the program with helping with learning hand washing and basically doing educational sessions with community members about how to use clean water properly. USAID uses a subcontractor called Global Communities, and they're basically was responsible for monitoring and evaluating the project, and then also conducting behavioral change campaigns. So we use a lot of their materials in being able to educate people on what is clean water, how is it used, what is latrine, how is it used, and what's the benefits from it. For those people who don't know what a borehole is, it's basically a well, and it is constructed to draw off water. Right now, majority of the boreholes in Ghana are hand pumped. There are only 6 that are mechanized, and we decided on that technology because it had the least maintenance involved, and it takes the least amount of education to get someone to maintain it. The mechanized systems, again, have to have someone monitor, clean it, oil it, check it, and repair it if possible. And so we decided to go with just hand pumping boreholes. When I first came on board, we were told that the boreholes, or the water coming from the ground, was basically clean, but I had encouraged them to do testing. And it's one of the things that I basically spent a lot of time on, encouraging this frequent testing of the water. The reason why is that when we were down in Ecuador, Erica and I discovered an aquifer that was tainted with arsenic. And we found out later on that the arsenic came from the processing of cocaine in Colombia. So regardless of where your water source is, one of the things you need to do is you need to test it to make sure that it is clean and safe to drink, and also to test it periodically to make sure it's clean. The latrine part of it is down in Ghana. Global Communities use what they call a KVIC ventilated pit toilet. It's not any different from the vault toilets that you see at state forest campgrounds or campgrounds in Ontario, which are basically, a pit toilet. And that was what they wanted to incorporate. And they're acceptable and it works well. But one of the problems we talked about is that these toilets have to be pumped out. They have to be pumped out. And we found out that a lot of people that, first of all, the people that do the pumping and were dumping the sewage in the river. And we didn't feel that was a very sanitary thing to do. And so we went ahead and we encouraged what we call a microflush toilet. And a microflush toilet basically is where you use a small amount of water to flush the solids down into a composting bin. And then there's also where the liquid is siphoned off, where it goes into a leach field around the toilet itself. The toilet basically is set up it actually uses earthworms to digest the compost. And the toilet needs to be removed cleaned out every 2 years. And the compost can be used for agricultural purposes. It's something that we looked at different avenues and came across this one and applied it down it, because not only did they have problems with dumping it, but we also had areas where we couldn't get a truck into. There were areas which would remind me of some of the 2 tracks up in northern Michigan, up in the UP, where it's just basically a dirt, 2 places where 2 tires go, and whatever is there is there. The holes, potholes, the rocks, whatever. In some cases, they had to deal with floods during the rainy season. Now, I think Peter mentioned that I studied economics at the University of California. And this And I get this question a lot here in the United States about why are we helping people when we have people here in locally in Detroit who need help as well. And so I point out the fact that water, the lack of clean water creates a poverty cycle. And it makes people unable to go to school, engage in productive activity that generates an income. And then once they do have clean water, school and jobs and education and income increase. How does that affect people here in Detroit? Well, this is one of my favorite stories, and just bear with me for a little bit. One of the first filters I put in was into a household that was located right next to a road. And we put in the filter, and a woman was very accepting into it. Remember, look, we're talking about a home that has a dirt floor, mud bricks, aluminum roof, and a very, very, very poor household. Well, the second time I came by, I visited her. She had developed a little storefront because her house is located near the road. She developed this little storefront right by the road because people walk up and down the road looking for rides or catching buses to go into town. And so the people would stop, would meet there, and they'd buy things like food items at first, but then she started getting into making it more like a convenience store. The second time I stopped and visited her, she had made enough money from her little tienda that she helped her husband develop, since they were located along trout stream, a trout farm. And so he had done these ponds along the stream and made it conducive so that trout would basically congregate in those streams. And she actually, in her little store, had fishing lures, rods, reels, and everything in the store so that people could engage in trout fishing. And actually, he actually did a little advertising in the bigger cities of Ecuador to come trout fishing at his farm. Well, one day, at one of the latter days that I was down there, I ran into the local market, and he had to take me to the local market to show me this. And so what I did is I used this to point out the fact that those people who question why are we providing safe water in undeveloped countries, and that is because they buy things like this. Now, if you don't, that pickup was built in Dearborn, and that's why it's important for us to improve the economy and the safety of people so that they can buy things like pickup trucks. And North America exports more pickup trucks than any part of the world, and there's no manufacturing in the world that compares to North American pickup trucks, and that's what people want. But he had to show me that because he was so proud that he could buy a pickup truck. I'm going to show you a little video. Bear with me here. This is about 4 minutes long, but this was provided for me by the people from Ghana, the Rotarians from Ghana, to show you some of the things that they've done. Now, I need to let you know that, there are a lot there that I have to compliment your club. I talked with John Lawrence, about a year ago or longer and I really think that the things that you've done in Chatham regarding your watershed and issues regarding the water are really very important. And I really would like to see you guys move forward with it on a district level. I want to let you know that every time I speak in front of a club, I bring up the Chatham Club as a leader when it comes to regard to water and how important it is for us. And one of the things that when I lived out in California back in the early 70s, I worked with farmers out there looking at issues of protecting their sources of water from the increasing population of the cities. And some of the things that I saw out there, I get concerned that the same could happen here as well. When I lived out in the Central Valley of California, a farmer could drill down 12 feet to access water for their farm fields. And now that same farmer has to go down 250 feet to access water because of the amount of water that's being used to funnel towards the populated cities. I personally have learned things in my own home. One of the things I did was I got rid of my lawn service and made an effort to kind of clean up my yard so that I make sure that I use chemicals that didn't change or alter the ground or the water in my neighborhood. And I think a lot more people should do that type of thing. So again, like I said, I have to commend your club for being a leader in this area. And I thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, we're back to our regular screen. Very much appreciate our education on that, Gary. It says a lot more for what Rotary is doing in the world, and as a club, we would hope that we could get ourselves in touch with something like that. We quite enjoy the support, or we throw our support behind Peter for what he's doing, but there's so many areas of service that we could be working in ourselves, and seeing what WASRAG has been able to do in the areas that you touch. When you see the faces on all of those people in the video at the end, you couldn't count all the smiles. Everybody was quite happy with having that opportunity. Unfortunately, I see that, even in Canada, we have some areas where this really could play a role there as well. And I wish we could do more to get that underway. But I think one of the things for all of us, seeing what Rotary does around the world is just keeps us coming back week after week, and hopefully we can continue and move forward with that. So thank you very much. Now, could I open it up for questions for Gary if anyone has anything they want to present to him? Raise your hand, let me know. Looks like we got a quiet crowd here, Gary. You're going to get off kind of lucky, I think, here.
Okay.
But thank you again. I mean, that presentation was awesome, and through the power of Zoom, we can bring you into our own homes, and we didn't even have to go out for lunch today. So take a few bucks, save it, and we'll put it towards a water program someplace. So that's going to conclude our meeting for today. Thank you very much, Peter, for lining us up on this. Next week, we have David Barr, a former Rotarian. I follow David's photography on Facebook, and just love seeing the shots that he's going to post from one day to the next. So I've asked David to come on and just do a photo presentation to our club next week. And then the week after that, Peter has another very interesting source lined up for us. So we're going to appreciate hearing that. So I don't see that I had any of the Smiths on board with me today. So I have no playing of our anthem or anything, but I appreciate everybody for showing up, and need you all to stay safe, and take care all. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good seeing you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary. That was a great job.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Gary.